Good evening, Happy New Year, and a warm welcome to another edition of the Times Essence Hangouts webinar. I am Avik Das, and I will be moderating this session for the next 1 hour. And this time, we will talk about how to build an effective resume, a question that probably runs through the minds of all students who are looking to enter the job market. We have three esteemed panelists with us here to talk about the subject this evening. We have Mr. Vikas Dua, Chief HR Mentor at Atayan and advisor at the BRICS Chambers of Commerce. Vikas is an accomplished HR expert with over 18 years of experience in the recruitment field, having worked with both startups and large corporations like Wipro and Concentrix, and driving the hiring in the APAC region. Welcome, Vikas. Good to have you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Frederick Correa, who is a Senior Associate Vice President at the investment bank Dashaw. He has a proven track record of creating and implementing HR strategies that successfully drive business initiatives related to profitability, talent development, and effective change management. A warm welcome to you, Frederick.
Thank you. Happy to be on the podcast.
We also have Arun Chitlangia, who is the head of employee growth at GeoLife Agritech. Arun is a pan-India trainer for industries such as IT, manufacturing, banking, and retail. He has trained more than 30,000 people in various industries, ranging right from workers to the MD and the CEO levels. Great to have you with us as well, Arun, today, this evening.
Thank you so much.
Great. Once again, welcome, gentlemen, on board. Great to have you with us. Vikas will move straight over to the discussion point. A couple of questions to begin with towards you. And this is something that I'm pretty sure lots of students would want a clarification on. Just to clear the air on that, what is the difference, the basic difference between a CV and a resume?
Great, Avik. Happy to answer that. And thanks firstly to Times Ascent for this opportunity to be part of this discussion at this critical time for all students who are in the space of their final placements and hoping to enter the corporate world. If you really ask me honestly, at a very broad level, in the recruitment space in India, where we are operating, there is not too much of a difference between the terms as they are used on a day-to-day basis. If Shah Rukh Khan were to make a CV, he could very well call it Shah Rukh Khan CV.doc or Shah Rukh Khan resume.doc. It wouldn't make any difference because recruiters would end up looking at the content in that CV as well as what Shah Rukh is really bringing to the table. However, having said that, just for academic knowledge, for the benefit of the audience, I think what I would like to let them know is that that slightly different documents. You really look at them from the academic standpoint. The CV is really nothing but what we also know as a curriculum vitae. It's a Latin word which is in fact stands for course of life. On the other hand, resume is a French word which stands for a short summary. Now, what does this mean? A resume is typically what we see in the corporate world, which is a short 2 to 3 page max kind of Word or PDF document, which talks about or shares the candidate's academic as well as professional experience in a nutshell. So a summary view of what the candidate brings to the table. A curriculum vitae is more prevalent in the academic space. It has a lot of information about the academic credentials of the candidate. What are the kind of papers he or she has written? What is the kind of research that person has done? What are the kind of conferences that person has addressed or participated in, and so on. Typically, this can be, you can say, almost like a glossary or a listing with every new conference or new research paper being added into that. So it doesn't really change much. And a curriculum vitae by design, therefore, Avik, gets utilized in institutes of higher learning where people are applying for teaching positions or research positions, or even in industry when the role is something to do with research and so on. So that's the primary difference between these two. Having said that, I think in the context of our discussion today, for students who are aiming to get into the corporate world, or even professionals wanting to move jobs, I think they needn't bother about it. Prima facie, they need to focus on the resume, which we discussed a short while ago. So that's really what this is about.
Great start, because I think, I mean, it clears some air in my minds as well as to the difference. It's almost used interchangeably in India, but good to know that there is a
True.
slight bit of difference, and that CVs are more used in the academic forum while resumes in the job market. Uh,
Thanks.
Arun, the next question towards you, how do hiring managers assess resumes? What do you think? What are the key points there?
Yeah, thank you very much for this question. And if you look at it from their angle, that I'm getting loads of resumes, and out of those, I have to shortlist and select few. So it's a Herculean task, right? So first challenge is that the time available to me is
Hmm.
very limited. So in that very limited time, very quickly, I have to glance through and select few of them. So one thing is the appeal. The resume should be appealing to eyes. That is where I want to stop and have a look that, okay, what is there? So a lot of white space, a lot of a nice way of presenting. I mean, not too much filled in is what I would like to look at it. And next thing, which there are a lot of things which again I would look into it, is that how is the layout?
Hmm.
Is the layout as per what I want, what is important to me, or is it from the point of view of the candidate that they want to express themselves? So the moment I see that, for example, one resume I observed, name, and second column was father's name. Now, while I'm want to give a job to someone, what I have got to do with father's name at this stage, right? So that puts me off. As compared to that, if important things are there on the top and less important things are on bottom, then it becomes more appealing to me, and then I would look at it in a more better way. So that is in brief, and maybe that as we go on, I will like to share a little more about it.
What are some of the other points you think? Let's say that you talked about one. What could be the other two important points that the hiring managers or the recruiters sort of keep in mind while assessing, these vast loads of resumes?
So out of 2 points, one, I would definitely look at the authenticity.
Hmm.
Does it sound authentic? Is it expressing truth? Is it's sounding honest? Is it transparent? Or is it a lot of blah blah about me and me, which is creating a lot of noise, but the substance which I want to see is not there. So I would definitely look at whether it is easy to navigate. Is it saving my time? Is it hiding information? Is it manipulating information, or is it
Hmm.
exaggerating information? Second
Okay.
point which I would look at is the objective of the candidate, what they are
Okay.
trying to say. Are they trying to say that I'm great, or are they trying to say that I'm fit for the job? So there's a vast difference between I'm great and I'm fit for the job. So as a recruiter, I would look at more towards a person who is fit for the job rather than a person who is the best person.
Hmm. 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 Got it. Great points, Arun. Thank you so much. Moving over to Frederick. Uh, Moving over to Frederick now. Frederick, just one question here before I come in. How do you think freshers should build their resumes, and what are the key points to keep in mind? Maybe you can highlight for students who are looking to enter the job market, as well as students or people who have a couple of years of experience on their back.
Sure. So I'll try to explain this with the use of an example. An interview process is nothing but like a marketing campaign at the end of the day. You are the product, and the CV is nothing but your catalog, right? What are the features? What can you do? What is it that you bring to the table? But unfortunately, most candidates go about writing the resume together as if it was a catalog of just their achievements in education. The idea of the resume is to provide a reflection of who the real you is behind the facts and the dates, right? Now you can go about this process. If you're going to go about this process, you can look at it as an opportunity of understanding yourself, deep diving and seeing what is it that you have done. Get a panoptic view. The biggest mistake what people do is they try and get 4 or 5 resume samples, see what suits them, cut, copy, paste, and they try and present. That's the biggest mistake. I think the first exercise in creating a resume is to have deep introspection. So take this exercise, start off. The best thing you can do is think about this exercise where you're creating a folder for yourself. For each job or each activity you have done, you need to capture all of this information in a page. Now this will start off with what is the company, what is the company, a little bit about the company, because you may want to see whether this is relevant or not, and you want to capture that aspect. If you have had a supervisory capacity, you want to capture that. How many people you have dealt with, how many people have you supervised, what is the specific skills you have used in the job. You want to write that in a few sentences, and the sentences shouldn't be, we are not interested in writing prose over here, but what you did, how you did, what was the result of what you did. Now that may be successful, unsuccessful, but approaching each sentence like this: what, how, when, and they should be relevant numbers. Okay, other than this, your major achievements, the number of times you were promoted, the dates you were promoted, the kind of awards, the kind of recognitions you got. And understand, this is not just for a full-time job. Now imagine, and if you're a fresher, a part-time job is also very important, or a summer job is as important, because what this shows is your resourcefulness. Just because you weren't paid for something doesn't mean you shouldn't write about it. And quite honestly, and through my years of experience, I'm quite interested to talk about everything other than what you've studied. What are the books you read? What are the activities you contribute for? What are the kind of endeavors you have taken which are non-monetary in nature, where you don't get compensated, because this show the real you. This shows character, and these are the things you want to identify. So you need to list down all of these things, and then you got to see what are the major achievements you have come about in your tenure at this job. As of now, I'm just asking you to compile this for every job. Do the same compilation for all your summer jobs. Do the same exercise for every activity you take, right? And finally, when it comes to sports, when it comes to other extracurriculars, understand this is a very, very important aspect. It shows your whole roundedness, or it shows how well you're shaped. What are the kind of games you play? Why do you play those games? What you like about those games? Understand, it's not about creating a hobby, and this is this wrong thought process which was taught to people before they went to the school, that you need to have a hobby, develop a hobby, talk about your hobby. Be yourself. Your resume can't just be a list of dates and accomplishments of someone. It's got to represent you. Use strong action words, doing words, continuous tense, put in dates. This is what I did. So for example, I turn around this division, which resulted in this by doing this process, which resulted in a turnover of this much percent. Wow. Short sentence, but to the point, right? This is how you need to compile all your points when it comes to gathering what you need to put in your resume. Now, how do you approach this, right? When it comes to every job, you got to see, what do you want to represent? What is it that this company is looking for? And then accordingly, you're going to pick, choose from this folder which I told you to create, pick, choose, match. Because at the end, if you put all the folders together, like what Vikas said, it could be a quote unquote, if it was academic in nature, your CV, which could run around 10 pages. But you want to present, because you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. And it is that catalog which is going to get the guy interested in seeing or understanding the product, and he'd call you for a conversation, or he's going to call you to give him a demo, and that demo is the interview, where you're selling the value and the solution you bring to the table. But if you're not able to do that in a quick, short glance, it's not going to help. Which is why, like Vikas said, resumes become extremely, extremely critical, because one, they are short, they are to the point, they're crisp, and they are presenting you in the best possible way to show the employer that, you know what, this is what you need. I understand you need this. This is what I have done, and this is why you should consider me.
Got it. But effectively, you talked about games, you talked about hobbies. How do games or hobbies represent that individual? I mean,
Okay, fantastic question. So why do you play what you play? What is the reason? What kind of, how are you while you play that game? Are you extremely competitive? Do you give up easily? Are you a good loser or are you a bad winner? Do you like challenges or do you like to get away with, just something not so challenging? These are very important things for you to bring about in the interview, right? If you don't put in that thought process and say, you know what, I like cricket, you put it on your form, interviewer asks you why you like cricket, and you're like, come on, everyone in India likes cricket. Why you like cricket? Or you may like golf. See what it tells, what it tells the interviewer. You know what? He likes group sports. He likes individual sports. It tells a lot about the kind of person you are. Why do you like what sport? You got to understand. You got to say, you know what? Someone may say, I like golf. Why? Because it gives me time to unwind. Right? That doesn't mean I'm not a team player. But at the same time, along with golf, I like to play this. Why? Because when I play this is what I get. So what is this showing? You're able to see at the end of the day, you don't want to be like, these two students these days have this cookie cutter approach. Everyone's CV looks the same. It's standardized. Then how are you going to represent? Who are you? What makes you unique? And why should you stand out? So it is through this, or let me tell you, through this page of history that the true story has to be painted. And the true picture has to come out of who is this person in front of you. And it's not just a list of accomplishments. Like Arun said, I don't want to know if you're a great guy. I want to know if you understand what I need and if you have it. And if you're able to convince me that you have that skill. That's it. So that's how games become very important. They tell you a lot of things. Generally, people who are only workaholics don't turn out to be the most productive. They may work harder, they may work longer, but in the long run, you will see these are the folks who work in pockets. These are the folks who have problem in team management because there's a mismatch in expectations, and it can have various ramifications on others around them. So your productivity is not just your productivity, but how you add to or reduce the productivity of others around you. You must have seen this small video where, and this became very popular when someone was leaving and the other guy said, half day ja rahe ho kya? He was leaving at 6 o'clock. So you see what I'm trying to say? You're creating a toxic culture by this. Your productivity cannot be measured in the number of hours. Right? So well-rounded, well-balanced personality always brings in diversity, brings in different thoughts, and that is what you want in a team.
Got it.
And in
Great
fact, Avik, I'll
points,
just
Frederick.
add a bit here to
Sure,
exactly
go
what
ahead, please.
Frederick said about cricket in a country like ours, like he rightly pointed out. In fact, it's almost part of becoming an Indian or holding an Indian passport that you played cricket at some point. So it helps if you can qualify it with some achievements or awards in that direction, having represented university or played zonals, because then that gives that added boost. Otherwise, in my view, there's absolutely no value addition by mentioning likes entertainment or music and these generic so-called hobbies which everyone tends to have.
Correct.
Just one point here,
Only,
I also
only
like
if you have got some achievements there. Only if you have achieved something in that hobby, you need to go ahead and mention that.
Or it may be something even unique. For example, you are collecting matchboxes from all over India and you have a collection of 525 different matchboxes. Now, that can become a talking point for the interviewer. But the moment you mention a cricket or music, the chances are the panelist on the other side will also have some extensive knowledge of that area and you can land in a trap.
I mean, you're asking people not to be very generic, like cricket, like music, like reading books. I think
that's not what we are saying. What we are saying is, don't put anything if you're not passionate about it, because you should be able to hold a 1 hour conversation on it. Can you do that? You should be able to talk for half an hour on something you have written on your CV.
I get what you're saying.
You can't, don't put it. You don't need to fill space on your CV. Think of that one page as very expensive real estate. Don't try and move it to 2 pages.
Because I mean, I'll just take cue from what Frederick said and move over to the next question. What should be the ideal length of a resume in the current circumstances? Like, usually previously people would probably go about 2 or 3 pages, but what I understand from talking to others, not more than 1 page probably would interest the interviewer, right?
Correct. So, I learned this lesson the hard way, honestly, Avik. I remember early in my career, 2, 3 years down, I was a rookie, very excited, felt that I was doing great work, obviously, like all of us do. And I ended up interviewing with another organization with a 4-page resume. And the hiring manager very politely that time actually just coached me and told me that, even Bill Gates has a 1-page resume only. So I got that message and I've always adhered to it after that. The reality is that, for our generation, Bill Gates was today what Elon Musk is to a lot of the youngsters, right? Someone you really aspire and want to become like. So clearly what has happened over the years is that resumes have progressed. And today you've got to factor in 2 parts to this. You've got to, when you make your resume, not only look at the man or the human being who's going to be assessing you, but also the machine. 9 times out of 10, if you're applying to a large organization, your resume will go through an ATS or an applicant tracking system, which will anyway filter you out if your resume is not of the right so-called format or structure. So the thought you have to keep in mind is that you've got to be able to understand what is that ATS looking for, what can get you filtered, and secondly, then how do you go past the human being? Very clearly, when you look at the ATS, essentially it's like a Google search. It's a process called parsing, which looks at how your CV content maps up to the terms or the keywords used in the job description against which you've applied, right? So to Frederick's point earlier, have you used the right terms, keywords within your resume so that it increases your chances of going through that parsing engine? That's one, very clear. Once it reaches the hiring manager or the recruiter, the human at the end of it, you've got to kind of ensure that you're able to look at the 3 C's. One is present the content, the first. Secondly, it should be with clarity, the second C. And third, there should be a connection that you're able to build. If you can do these 3 seamlessly, then your chances of moving further into the interview stage increase. Now, what are some of the things that you need to keep in mind to answer your specific question? The CV needs to be 1 or maybe max 2 pages even today. Recent research as far as 2018 goes, an American search firm called Ladders did a study. Apparently, recruiters spend 7.4 seconds on a CV before they make a decision of selection or rejection. 7.4 seconds, I'm repeating that. So you've really got that, again, to Frederick's point, that 1 page, that single shot of making that first impression. And you can only do that if you are crisp, you have used the right font, there are no grammatical errors to put off the interviewer or the reviewer, your CV is well structured with the heading standing out, your achievements in bold. So pretty much, you've got to make that perfect pitch deck for yourself if you really want to move forward in that 1 or 2 pages max. The compulsory or the mandatory sections by design therefore become your name and your contact details. It will need your brief quick summary, which is really your first or impactful line about what you stand for or what is the value you bring to the company. Then of course WorkX, education, your maybe interests or hobbies, and skills and certifications that you have. If you take care of these accurately, I think you would be in the right path. Also remember that the preferred system for both ATS and human beings today is the reverse chronology format, which is more recent first. And for people beyond having a WorkX of more than 15 years or so, the earlier part can easily be dropped off or summarized in a small section so that it's really of no consequence much later down in your life. That's the guidance I would share.
Correct. I think a lot of, students as well as people with few years of experience would probably ask or have some questions that, that I've worked for quite a few years. I probably have 5 years of experience and I've done so and so many things. How do I sort of encapsulate all these things into just one single page? That would include my achievements, that would include my whatever I have done in the organization, my educational qualifications, everything. How can students as well as employees write or be very, very concise? What could be the maybe the 3 suggestions or tips that all of you can share maybe?
Sure. So one tip that I always give candidates is that, obviously by design, somehow we tend to feel very good about ourselves and we think everything about ourselves is very great and perfect. And therefore we probably tend to get carried away at times. So always get your resume CV reviewed by a peer, colleague, by a mentor to try and get a second person view. That really
Okay.
helps in, sometimes chopping off unnecessary bits and helping you make it slightly more impactful.
Okay. Arun, what could be your suggestions?
Yeah, so one thing is we can always take help of attachments, annexures. So on the main page, the top qualification can be mentioned, whether it is experience, educational qualification, or anything else. And then you can have an attachment where more detailed information may be there. The advantage is that those who are interested, now every recruiter may have a tendency to look at different things. For some, education may be very important. For some, experience may be more important, and like that. So it gives them a leverage that, okay, this is something important to me, so I'll go to that page if I'm interested, otherwise I don't have to go. And if I go there, all the detailed information is available there. So that could be one of the solution for having both. But I would absolutely agree with Vikas and Frederick both, that we have to very mindful about inclusion and exclusion. What is that I want to include? What is that is important for this job and the person who is hiring me? And what is that should not be there? What is that distracting attention? What is that diluting what I'm saying? And if we pay that attention to this, so I would always say that once you have prepared the draft of your resume, look at it once from the angle of inclusion first. That have I included the important things which I really want to highlight? And having done that, now I should go for the exclusion round, that what are the things which are not really making much sense, which is already visible. If I've done BCom, obviously I've done SSC, so why do I need to mention that? So can I exclude all those information from there and make it a very crisp, very focused document, which in one glance the person is able to see who am I.
Got it. Great.
So
Frederick, your
I
tips?
yeah, I'll tell you what. Use this formula: what, when, how, and what was the impact. So I did this or transformed this division by doing such and such process. So your keyword is covered, which resulted in this and a turnover of such and such percent in 2019. When you have 5 sentences like that, you're able to show the interviewer that, look, in the 5 years I've been here, every year this is how I've grown, these are the things I've been able to achieve, and come on, you're able to share so much information in just one single line. So if you're just writing 5 lines, it should be able to show that journey, that 5 major achievements, and how you've impacted the organization year on year. If you write something in your CV as the second line which you've done 5 years back, how does it matter? It may not be as relevant, and it shouldn't be in the second line if it's not so important, right? So that is how you should. And then the most important thing, you can't make one CV. What I told you, to prepare that folder, you use that folder and make a resume for every job you're applying. See, what do these guys want? What do I have in my in my folder of all my achievements? How do I put the best foot forward? What are the points which will show my skills? What are the points that will highlight my strengths? What are the points that will convince them that I'm the guy they're looking for? So you got to see that it's got to be tailor-made. And the worst thing you can do is ask someone else to help make you your CV. That's what people say. You're an HR, why don't you help me make my CV? Right? And they don't want to put the effort. They a lot of people get confused in trying to make the CV appealing in terms of looks rather than content. If the content is good, and I think that's where you spend most of your time, it doesn't matter how your CV looks. In fact, a simple CV with the right content laid down neatly is best and most appreciated by anyone. Instead of having different colors, different fonts, putting photographs, etc., trying to signify that I can do MS Office, so you put an MS Office logo. Unfortunately, like Vikas said, the ATS doesn't understand that MS Office logo.
Are we having a problem here?
You have pushed yourself behind.
Okay.
right?
Okay. Yeah, we lost you a bit in the middle, Frederick. But one question that before I move over to Arun again, uh, because since students apply for so many jobs at one go, maybe for different sectors altogether. How do they ensure that CVs pertaining to different sectors are sort of made differently? Like, what are the couple of things that they need to keep in mind? So let's say if I'm applying for a job in banking, and compared to also maybe I'm applying for something for the pharma industry, or maybe something for the HR. How do I ensure that the key points pertaining to every sector is covered while I'm making the CVs?
See, at the end of the day, what you got to do is project the skill. Your work, you may have done the same work, but you got to project that same work. You got to project the skill using certain descriptions of the work you did to the organization based on what skill they require. For example, if it was stakeholder management, and if I was in B school, right, and say I may have been in the students advisory council, or let's say I'm a part of a club which does a certain thing. Now I got to identify first, what does the recruiter need? He needs stakeholder management skills, so I need to project in this club how I manage stakeholders, right? So you need to understand what is the skill required, and then your experience is not going to change. What work you did is not going to change. Your CV or your resume is just the best representation of what you have done, such that the recruiter identifies he's the right candidate for the job. And that's what you need to do. So information doesn't change. It is the presentation of that information which changes. That's all. It is the skills which you identify, which this job perhaps needs, which you can now put forward through this platform or through this catalog known as your resume.
Okay, got it. Arun, just one question to you. How do you highlight your main achievements? I think we've discussed this, but also just wanted if you can throw
Yeah.
some light on that.
So I would say highlight it by not highlighting it. What I mean to say is, it should not be apparent that I'm highlighting something. It should come out in a very subtle way, very subtle way. So as Frederick rightly said, if I say that I face so and so challenge, or I was given so and so responsibility, and by doing so and so action, I did something, I surpassed, I got so and so result. And again, everything that I mentioned, I should be able to vouch for it. I should be able to prove it that yes, this is what happened. So the more I use vague terms like I'm a hard worker, I'm doing this, I'm achiever, and all those things, these words have absolutely no meaning. If I put on something specific which I have done in
Hmm.
a way that can be authenticated, that is one best way. Now you may have a question that what if I don't have much to say in this field? Then at least you may have plan, you may have goal, you may have certain aspirations that this is what I want to do, and that is where you can say that this is the way I've done. So Frederick gave a very good example of sports. The way I have excelled well in playing cricket, I want to excel in doing this thing, and so of my skills are very well useful in this particular job. And when we talk about industry, forget about industry, we have to be very specific for that particular company. And that's why when Frederick said every application, every resume should be an individual separate resume, no copying business. And that is where you have to pay attention that who is the company, what is that require, and what do I have, and is it matching? Now you will find if you do that kind of gap analysis, you will realize that there are some areas where there is a gap in what they want and what I have, and in some area you are doing very well. So can I focus more on those areas where my skill and the job requirement is matching very well, and maybe that I can keep quiet, remain silent on the other ones, so that this is focused. And again, as Vikas also said, is they should feel, the emotions are very important here. They should feel, hey, this is the guy, this is the person I was looking for, and that is when the decision will take place.
Okay, got it. Next question to you, Vikas. What are some of the other forms of representing a resume? Like, is there any set boilerplate or a template, or it can be done in any other format as well?
So, very interestingly, this resume that we're discussing today is actually a 500-year-old document. I don't know if this trivia is known to many people, but Leonardo da Vinci actually created the world's first resume in the year 1482. And he applied
Okay.
for some apprenticeship in the city of Milan, and he wanted to work with some tradesman there, and sent him a parchment with all his qualifications and whatever work he had done so far. And somehow over the last 5 centuries, we've been kind of progressing with it in different forms. We obviously went on to paper, handwritten, then we possibly got typewriters into the play, then computers, now it's online. But not much has changed. I think 99.9% of recruitment still happens through the so-called resume we are talking about. But the good part is that there's a lot of innovation happening here as we speak, and a couple of new pieces which are already noticeable are, for example, video resumes. Now, a lot of the large companies have started asking applicants to record a short video bite about themselves at the time of applying itself. And really, at one glance, they want to get a feel of the personality of the candidate. So that's emerging, and I think I would strongly personally advise all young students who are starting off to think about this and start actually getting comfortable with it, because while we are all very comfortable taking selfies and videos all the time nowadays of everything that we eat or drink or wear, talking into a camera is not exactly very easy, and recording. So it needs a whole different skill level. So that's one.
Is that
Secondly,
gaining a
there
lot
is
of traction?
sorry
Sorry to interrupt, Vikas,
No,
but is
please.
that gaining a lot of traction?
Like all innovation, honestly, Avik, I'm seeing the industry leaders, the so-called global MNCs, who are always usually first in line to experiment and try out new things, have actually taken the lead. So if you go to apply to some of these foreign MNCs nowadays online, very high likelihood, at least at mid and senior levels, that you'll see a video resume being asked for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mid and the senior levels.
Yes.
Okay.
And in fact, even at campus interviews, for example, nowadays, which is another new platform-dependent interviewing process which has started because of COVID, companies have not been able to reach out to campuses and travel. Many have deployed, and these are the largest IT, BPO, financial services firms, which have deployed, remote interviewing solutions. Again, here, the first round is typically a short video bite to help them filter out candidates on communication and personality elements. So it's even at that level for campus freshers, to answer your question.
Okay, got it. I just want to just cite a personal example, and just to understand whether that can be mentioned in the CV or not. Like, I, as a person, probably love the game of cricket ever since I was a kid. Of course, I haven't played at the school level, and of course, there's no question of representing the college or the university. But I've been, to be very honest, been extremely passionate about the game. Not just following the games day in or day out, but as an avid lover of the game, reading up books about it, history about the game. Do you think that can really be mentioned if I were to write my CV?
Why not?
Clearly,
Why not? If you're passionate about something, and if you're able to show why you're passionate about it, that shows you have the ability and the personal drive to do something when you're not rewarded or you're not incentivized. That's really good. People are not generally able to communicate through their CV or through any interaction. It just shows that you believe in something, and that's something very good to project in interview process. So if you but like if you write something like that, you should be able to back it up. So if you say I like football, you should know about Premier League. You should know about what were the recent transfers. You may not play football. You not be if you talk about dancing, you may have 2 left legs. You may not be able to dance at all. But the bottom line is you know everything about it, right? Or you know enough to hold or intrigue the person in front of you. If he is an avid reader, he is an avid champion of the same sport, or if he also is passionate about the sport, and if he's not, you should know significantly more than him, such that he feels, what, I spoke to Avik, and wow, I've learned something, and I found this interaction fantastic. Whether the job works out, doesn't work out, but I felt I had something to take away from this process.
Correct.
In fact, the way you present it also becomes very important, Avik. For example, in your case, it would clearly be looking at something like, passionate about the history of cricket, the game of cricket. That immediately is very different from hobbies cricket. Or aficionado of tracking statistics related to cricket and the performance of the greats.
Absolutely. Got it.
In this direction, in fact, I want to bring the audience notice to one beautiful example, which I think everyone should go online and look at, because I think it will just open up the minds to how creative they can be. There is this story of a young girl called Nina, and the website is Nina, Nina 4, the number 4, Airbnb.com. She wanted to apply to Airbnb. She tried multiple applications online, didn't get selected. She went ahead and created her own resume online in the format of a website, designed just like an Airbnb page. It was picked up by Brian Chesky, the founder of Airbnb, on Twitter. And from there on, it just went viral. And she got hired by the company as well eventually. So really, if you are going for some dream job, go get creative, find a way out. Today's digital landscape offers you all the means.
Absolutely. Great. One more question, and this is to Frederick before we probably move over to the questions, and I see quite a few of them lined up. What are some of the things that you shouldn't really include in a resume?
See, actually, like I said, this real estate is extremely important. So as it is, you have so much information, and you want to put this and you want to put certain pointers on your CV. I'll take this question and I'll flip it. Many people are afraid to talk about failures, and their CV happens to be a list of accomplishments. Sorry, you want to share your experience. You may have failed at multiple items. Don't leave them out. You want to say that you made an attempt, you did something, maybe it didn't work out, you put in certain processes, it didn't work out, but you learned something from that, and that's something which is going to help you stand out. Right now, what are the things to leave out? Now you see like what Arun said, you don't want to show that you're a he-man, you don't want to show that I'm fantastic. So understand, while no one else is going to blow your trumpet and you need to do it yourself, see how you don't make it sound very bombastic. Don't over highlight. Using bold is a nice thing. Using too much of bold does the opposite effect. So you have to see what to include, what not to include, and stop using we did this or did this. Include what you did in the project. Generally, people say, yeah, did this. When you're interviewing the guy, say, we did it together, I helped him. But you go 2 levels down, you understand he has no idea about it. Please don't include that. Include only what you have done, right? If you have not done something, even vicariously, if you have picked it up because of someone, please don't put that. There shouldn't be one lie, one falsity, one misrepresentation of your experience. You have enough to put there. Why are you misrepresenting yourself? So these are very few or very small but very important tips, and these are things which can absolutely turn off an interviewer, and it can cause the end of your interview then and there. Maybe he may be polite, and because it's a matter of employer branding, and he doesn't want you to go out and diss the company or diss the employer, he may continue the interview, but in his mind he's rejected you.
Absolutely. Is there any template to start the resume? Like, I mean, apart from introducing yourself in terms of names, but there should be an objective, and then you write about the companies that you have worked in. And how do you start a CV? How do you start a resume?
Not really. Totally depends on you. What do you want to represent? Now, for example, if you have 15 years of experience, are you going to be able to cover it in a page or 2? So you may want to write 3 or 4 lines about your 15 years, right? The last 2 jobs, and your last job is where you're going to spend, let us say 50% of your real estate, not more than that. The jobs before that, you may want to spend 10% real estate, you may omit the rest. Now, come on, after 15, 20 years of experience, I don't care whether you got a first class in your class 10 or class 12, right? So see if you want to keep that, see if you don't want to keep that. I don't want to know whether you won a drawing competition in class 3 or class 4. How's it relevant? But you know, that's the only achievement. So people put this one singing competition in school. You're 35 years of age. I don't care whether you won a singing competition in school.
Great. We're sometimes losing you out, Frederick. I mean, there's some problem with the connectivity, maybe.
So the idea is to put your best foot forward, right? So it depends. If you're a fresher, ideally, the best thing you have is your hats, right? You may not have experience, so you may want to put that up. Or if you've done a summer job, done an internship, or you have some sort of experience.
Okay, we're losing you out, Frederick, but I'll probably stop you there and
Is it
and
now?
On a lighter note, Vic,
slightly better. Yeah. Go ahead, Vikas, before we jump into the
I think
questions.
on a lighter note, I think my guidance to everyone would be not to reduce the font size to 7 or 8 to fit in more information in the page. Because if the recruiter is someone like me, then chances are that 7.4 seconds will become 2.4 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. Frederick, we can hear you, but your voice is still sort of echoing. No, we can't hear you right now.
Okay, while Frederick comes back, one point I would like to add, Avik, where you said that what should not be there. So I've seen one very common statement in many resumes. This is to certify that the above information is true to the best of my knowledge. Now, these type of things irritates like anything, and it doesn't serve any purpose. On the contrary, I start asking myself that why you are putting this statement. Does that mean that I'm having disbelief? I mean, you are not believing yourself then. So one should be mindful that what I'm writing and why I'm writing. This is another example of that copy paste which many people might be doing.
I get it. Great points. We'll move over to the questions now. Quite a few that have been lined up. Pranav Malhotra asks that how should students who are appearing for campus interviews build their resumes? I think this question has been addressed right from the moment we began the discussion today. Quite a lot of points made by Frederick, Vikas, as well as Arun. Anderson, of course, you have anybody of you has anything to add to this? I'll probably move over to the next, if at all.
Savik, just checking, is everything all right? Am I back
yes,
on? Or?
Yes.
Perfect.
It's perfect now. Yeah. We'll move over to the next question from Ketki Bhatti. She asks that apart from applicants, or she terms these as amateur applicants, but apart from amateur applicants that you have been talking about, what do you have to say for seasoned candidates? How many pages should they include, or how many pages should their CVs be made up of? Anybody wants to take this?
Yeah. May I?
Yeah, sure. Please go ahead, Arun.
So I would say the higher up you go in terms of the corporate hierarchy, your resume should be brief, shorter and shorter. And if I'm Amitabh Bachchan, my resume will say Amitabh Bachchan. That's all, nothing else. So look at the position, which position you are applying for. At a higher position, I think it's your achievement is already known to people. It's just that very small story as to what you are looking at in terms of further desire that where you want to achieve will serve more purpose than anything else. So in general, it should be brief, but specifically for higher position, it should be absolutely crisp.
Okay. And she
Like,
also,
yeah, and if you look at it, Avik is also, if you're quite seasoned, and it depends at which level you're coming in, then the
correct.
concept of CV changes to vision and value proposition, right? Like I understand and I know all about you. What is your vision and value proposition if we are going to, or if you are to join such and such team, or lead such and such division? So, the whole concept changes, where it's not reflecting, it's not about what he's done, but what he desires to do and what is his thought process. And that is on which the conversation goes forward. As far as the size is concerned, and if you're talking at mid to senior levels, I think 2 pages is sufficient. Beyond 2 pages is not acceptable, right? 2 pages at max. And like I said, the second page should, while you want to keep certain things which are important, which perhaps the recruiter may not be spending as much time on, put that on the second page. But what you want to put best, or your best foot forward, should be the first half of your CV, the first page and the first half page only.
Okay, okay, okay. Ketki
Great
also
points
goes
by
on to,
Arun and Frederick. I'll just add one line to this, Avik, and I
please,
think
please
for
go ahead,
mid-senior
because
level, what really becomes more or equally important is the cover letter. I think we missed talking about that, but I think that's another way to actually position your candidature in terms of how you map with the organization's values and the role that is on offer, because that's where you can utilize that additional one page of real estate to make that picture very clear for the hiring leaders.
okay, okay, great points again. I think cover letter is a really important part. I think if we have some time, we can also talk about that. Satya Jilela, she asks that, he asks that, because I think he's from the education sector, and he says that, they're getting resumes which are running into 20 pages, citing UGC formats. I'm not too sure of that. How do you address that?
So yes, see, actually, when it comes to, I'll give you another example. There's this other concept known as World Bank format, right? If you're applying generally for engineering roles, if you're applying for World Bank projects, or any of these multilateral funding projects, etc., they generally don't care about what you bring to the table. They want to know, they want to have a complete history of what all you have done in the past, such that, and they mark you on those CVs. So it totally depends where you're using it for. And like Vikas said, that's the difference between a CV and as per the literal translation, what you have done throughout your course of life, vis-a-vis what do you bring to the table. So that's the difference. And in education, it's you want to project that this is what I've done over the last 25 years. So you don't want to show that you have just this skill set, or rather you have 1 year of experience and you have done that 25 times over. You want to show your accomplishments, what you have achieved over the last 25 years. So when it comes to UGC, or when it comes to such projects where you need to present that kind of information, that is when you use your so-called CV. And it depends on the format. You call it World Bank format, or you call it UGC format. In World Bank format, traditionally, for each job you have done, you could spend a page or two, and you talk about each project and you go into the details, what, how, when, and what was your contribution on it. And each of these things are scored. So that is the purpose of finding those CVs. Sometimes people misunderstand, and because of this common use of resume and CV, they don't understand what you're asking. So in someone's understanding, you send your CV when you actually mean resume, and he sends you the CV, and then you're like, what the hell is he saying? You're getting what
I
I'm
get it.
trying to say?
Great. Satish Kumar asks that for resumes of experienced people, please advise on how many accomplishments that can be added in the resume if there are quite a few accomplishments or achievements.
Only the recent
Vikas?
ones and the big
Only
ones.
the
You
recent
choose
ones. Okay.
recent and big. Yeah,
Got it.
Vikas.
Got it. Vikas, anything else you want to add there? Or
No, I think that's bang on. The problem
got
today
it.
is that we have entered this era of what I call, participation awards. In school also, just for participating, being there, we get awards. and that has reached the corporate world also. And therefore, like Frederick said, we should distinguish between what is actually valuable and recent, and showcase that.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Rita Talele asks that, if she's currently working on a project, so can she mention about that in her resume?
So here you have to check the confidentiality objective. If it is not interfering into any confidentiality factor of the organization, then why not? Yes, definitely.
Okay. Okay. There's another question from Tanvi Malik. She asks that, how do I make my LinkedIn profile more attractive? Who would like to
So
take
that's a
this?
whole different seminar by itself. We should request Times
Yeah,
Ascent
exactly.
to organize.
And understand
True.
that your LinkedIn profile is not your resume. It is more like your CV. It's like a virtual
It's
CV.
more like a CV.
And actually, it is a platform to be leveraged even more. And like Vikas says, it opens up a completely new discussion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
But having said that, I think
Vijay,
every recruiter today, at least I'm sure at mid and senior level hiring, after reviewing the CV, possibly does go and check the LinkedIn profile. So
Yeah.
I would advise all
correct.
candidates to have it up to date and presentable and looking very professional.
Yes. 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 Uh, Vijay Chavan asks that how important are the key skills in the resume? Who wants to take a shot at this?
Now, again, I would like to repeat the same thing. It's not about your key skills. Your key skill may not be useful to me. So which are the key skills that is matching with the key requirement of the job? That is where we should highlight.
You see,
Okay.
why
Okay.
the use of these key skills came up was when ATS came into play. People were not able to put in these words. So how do you get your CV shortlisted? Key skills, and write those keywords: stakeholder management, recruitment, talent assessment, and you put that, so automatically your CV gets shortlisted. So it depends why you're using it. So that's how these key skills came into place, and it's very useful if you're not able, and you'd rather put in those skills which you're not able to, or one of the most important skills which you want to portray, but you're not able to portray in your resume.
Got it. Neha Sinha asks that, how to develop an engaging headline in the about section column in the CV.
If you're good at content writing, do it yourself or take someone's help. That is a very important section of the CV for sure. And I think the more time you spend on it, because the rest of it is purely factual, right? Like Frederick and Arun have been saying, it's about your achievements, what metrics have you achieved, what transformations have you done, what awards have you won. But this is that one paragraph which is really, in a sense, to use a very simple term, generic or maybe non-data based. So to do that, I think take the help of someone if you feel that they can possibly help you fine tune that.
Got it. Next question from Avadhanam Ramesh. He asks that, is it good and advisable to rely on services from online agencies for CV or resume and cover letters? Anybody, would you advise that, or would you advise strictly to, be Atmanirbhar?
See, like I think I gave this advice first: don't depend on someone else to make your CV. At best, they can do the beautification. The content has to be you. The CV has to show you. It doesn't have to show, it doesn't have to, you don't have to have an attractive catalog if the features of the product are all mentioned wrong. It may look damn good and someone will see it and will just toss it away. This is of no use to me. So understand, you have to spend much more time in your CV than someone else. You can just go to them for beautification and for review, because of course you can be biased, right? Generally people put in a format and they feel, wow, I really like it, but someone else may just not find it, and you can get positively lopsided, and people generally do, and they can be a little proud of what they've created. So like Vikas said, always get someone else to review it. Is it hurting the eye? I've seen people sending pink resumes, blue resumes. I'm like, wow, what are these guys trying to do?
And are these for very like entry level positions?
Of course, and generally these CVs I've seen is planners or people in the creative space. They're trying to show their creativity in the CV. If I want to know your creativity, I will ask for your portfolio, right? On the CV,
Yeah,
just tell me
true.
about know about your skill set.
True. Definitely. Senthil Raj Balachandran asks, I'm yet to understand. I'm not too sure whether I understand what he's asking about, but he asks, is it good to change roles and responsibility tailor-made for various positions?
I'm sorry, you want to change the roles and
He
responsibilities?
asks, is it good to change roles and responsibility tailor-made for various positions? I'm not sure that I'm getting his questions correctly.
I think, and I could be wrong. What is he asking is for the same job, if it's a different CV, do I project different responsibilities depending on the job I'm applying for? I'm hoping that is what he's trying to ask. If that is it, then absolutely yes. Your roles and responsibilities, you're going to get to write 5 lines about what you've done in this organization, at best 6, right? So you want to portray those best 4 or 5 lines which portray that, like I'm repeating this, what portray that you can do the job you're applying for, or you have the skills required. You may come from a totally parallel background or a parallel field. In that case, what you need to show is you need to show the underlying competencies which are transferable in nature, which you have used in this field, which you can use in this field. So even if you're shifting from one field to another, if you got to present your resume, this is how you should present it, showing or focusing on the transferable competencies or the competencies which you possess, which you can use in the next job, even if you have no relevant experience.
Got it. I think we have one last question from Satya again from Jalala, and he asked that please do comment on resumes for senior leadership profiles like a VC in the education sector. I mean, that I think would rather be a CV than a resume, right?
Absolutely.
Correct.
Yes, yeah. But I think
So in
Satya
that
has got his
case,
answer.
you will go with your most recent publications, and that is very important.
Absolutely.
It's not about doing your PhD a decade back, but in the 10 years after your PhD, what research have you
Correct.
done, right? So you need to show what seminars have you done, what is your contribution to society as an academician. When you say you have 20 years experience, do you have 20 years of good experience, or do you have 1 year experience 20 times over? You got to be able to communicate that.
Absolutely. Okay, I think one last, and when it's a relevant question, I think this is from Usha Diwakar. But she asked that what are the worst resume blunders to avoid? Maybe one
Spelling
point from
mistakes.
all of you. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, spelling mistakes. And since
Vikas?
Vikas has taken the spelling mistakes, I'm going to say mismatch in fonts and 2 different fonts on the same resume, and not knowing you have created that mistake because you have cut copy paste from somewhere else.
True. Arun, one point.
I would say too much of me, my greatness, too much of that.
Okay, be yourself. I mean, that's probably the most important part of presenting your CV. Yeah. Great.
Also for students, what you should watch out for. Sometimes in college, we get carried away and we make some nice, cool hunkyboy@gmail.com kind of email addresses. So when you're applying for a professional job, try and keep that little bit professional. These
Absolutely,
things just slip through sometimes.
bang on. And in fact, you'll be surprised. There's some crazy Gmail IDs which people land using on their CV. Devil 666.
I used a very polite one, as you must have realized, right?
I am sure. Okay, one last question. Then nothing beyond this. But again, I think this should be answered. As Hemant Kandoi asked that whether he needs to customize resumes as per the industry he is applying for, or just make a general resume.
I guess we already
Anybody?
answered this. So
Yeah.
importantly, not only industry, but very specific company to which you are applying. So industry, yes, go ahead and customize it for that particular company, for that particular post.
Got it.
Absolutely.
Great.
So even if it's the same company, and they're two different roles. You can't have the same CV.
Yes.
Okay, got it. Okay, that's a point well taken, actually, Frederick. I think this is one common mistake I think a lot of us make. I mean, not only juniors, but also I think people who are aged about 30, 35, I think they would be making the same, these minor errors, I think, which can probably count a lot at the moment of application. Great. No more questions from the audience. I think we have had a pretty great representation today, one of the best so far, if I'm not mistaken. Great points from all of you, Arun, Vikas, Frederick. Very relevant points in today's job market, as students sort of pass out of college or the university and get into their first jobs. A lot of bloopers a lot of us make while we were young, but the most important point is to avoid them, or even if you make it, rectify and then move ahead and ensure that you don't really repeat that in the future. Thank you, gentlemen, so much once again for coming and joining this session. It's been really enthralling one. Yep, so that's about it from me. Thank you. Enjoy your evening and stay safe.
Thank you.
Most welcome, and thank you to you also.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
A
Bye.
pleasure being here.
Bye. Yeah, bye.
Pleasure. Bye-bye.